This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/SBO. Terms and conditions apply.
I think we're in the 12th day of the Bears coaching search.
They have a list of 20 candidates. They've interviewed 11, and they have 9 that they've requested.
Before we even get started on this pros and cons of our top coaching candidates, how do you feel about the Bears leaving no stone unturned, so to speak?
I hate it. I'm not a fan. I don't like it. And there's also a word that there's interest in speaking to Marcus Freeman of Notre Dame. So
what does that mean?
They're interested in interviewing him. So if they do, then we're up to 21. I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with being like, this is such a major decision. We've got to get it right. There's nothing wrong with that. But right now, it just seems like we're clueless and I don't know if they're trying to gather data and that's why they're doing so many interviews. I don't know if they want to make it seem like, oh, we're no stone unturned. We're going to make sure we dot our T's and cross our I's. But it really looks like you don't know what you're looking for. It really looks like you don't know what you're doing. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't prefer it. I think if I was a candidate, I would be turned off by that. Do you know what you want? Do you know what you're looking for? Do you know who it is? And is it me? Because if it ain't me, cool. And I'm going to get into that when we go through our choices. I think that may factor in with someone. It just looks like we're clueless and we want to look like we know what we're doing. Like I've said about polls before, and I don't know, this could be Warren polls. I don't really know how this dynamic is going. He tries to and wants to come off like he's just playing 6D chess, that he's, just so cerebral and we're just doing things. So, and it really comes off looking like we don't know what we're doing and we're clueless. So I'm not a fan of it. Maybe some people feel like, no, we should be interviewing this many people. Woo. I mean, I can see maybe, but it looks like we don't know what we're doing to me.
I can agree with that thought process, or at least that viewpoint, because for one, the Bears have a history of not knowing what they're doing, right? Especially this iteration of the Bears. Like you said, Ryan Poles, he's already played his best cards already, and he came up busted as if he was playing blackjack.
Tiddlywinks.
Can you go busted playing tiddlywinks?
I don't know. I don't know how to play tiddlywinks. Do I look like I play tiddlywinks? It just sounds like a kid game, which I think it is.
Isn't tiddlywinks like jacks? Isn't that the same thing?
Oh, when you bounce the ball and pick up the jack? Is that what it is? Then you can't bust. You can miss. I don't know. I gotta look up tiddlywinks now. But in any case, this iteration, this regime of the Bears, they've already shown in the past that they do not have the foresight necessary to execute the best plan forward. We saw that with the last coaching search when we set it on Eberflus. And Eberflus was hired before Ryan Poles was actually hired. And Ryan Poles said that was the guy I wanted to hire, even though he didn't even interview him. He had to say that. What else was he going to say? I highly doubt that was the guy. How do you know that's the guy you wanted to hire? You weren't even involved in the hiring process. I mean, I feel like you got to say that coming in to have that vote of confidence for him. But how could that be true?
This goes back to something I'm going to say later on in the show about a con of one of the top candidates. Ryan Poles has a history, and we saw this on Hard Knocks. He has a history with Matt Eberflus. And we saw a lot of things on Hard Knocks. He has a history with a lot of guys that did not fit the Bears, as it turned out. Beatles Jones being one of them, Ryan Bates another guy, so on and so forth.
And can you really have top list if you got 21 people? If you interview, can you really say we got a top list? Not us, talking about it, but I'm talking about, can the organization say we have a top list when you're interviewing 21 people? Like if you're an inside candidate for a job, right, and they put the job out because they just need to put the job out. Okay, cool, you understand that, but you think I'm a front runner, I'm in there. You think they may interview 2 or 3 more people, but if you see the interview list and you see 21 names on that list, you're not gonna feel like, well, damn, maybe I'm not. Maybe they not sold on me. Maybe they don't know what they're looking for. Like, why are they interviewing this many people? I don't know. It's just goofy to me. But
on the other side of that, right? And you have experience in this because you do hiring in your professional day to day. One, it's really punishment for Poles because he didn't do this last time. You wanted your boy hired, right? So now you got to make sure you do the work this time around. You got to talk to everybody before you actually settle in on who the best candidate is. Well, that's one thing. 2, when you're doing hiring, there's a lot of candidates. You can cut the list down by people that don't meet your qualifications, right? You can cut the list off by right there. But everyone that meets the qualifications, you do want to talk to them because you want to find out who is the best person for this task that you need handled. And then the last thing for the Bears in particular, and this goes right back to the Eberflus hire and everything else surrounding that. The Bears need to talk to everybody. For one, because they need to have a varied approach or a varied idea of the best way forward. How the best way to develop Caleb Williams, best way to get this culture turned around. You can't just talk to 5 people to get that best answer. You got to talk to everybody. And you're going to have to whittle that list down and have your second interviews and third interviews and so on and so forth. The process has to be different this time. And I'm at least appreciative, even though it's long-winded, I'm at least appreciative that the process is more involved this time around.
Okay. I mean, I'm just hoping for the best results. So if this process or this, these steps get us the best results, then I'm all for it. It just seems a little, we don't know what we're doing, in my opinion, but hey.
They could definitely come off that.
I hope they proving me wrong. I really hope they proving me wrong.
I hope so as well. We're going to do a little bit of the work for the Bears. We're going to talk about the best coaching candidates out there. Obviously, the last episode we all had Mike Vrabel at the top of our list, at least near the top, right? I think the writing was on the wall. We all knew that there was a match made in heaven between him and the Patriots. If you haven't heard by now, Mike Vrabel is now the new head coach of the New England Patriots. Obviously, he has a history with the Patriots. He played there for over 10 years. Got a couple Super Bowl rings with the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady regime. So you felt like that was going to happen anyway. Anybody, if he'd been going anywhere else, was an outside shot. Maybe even to the Raiders, so that Tom Brady has a minority ownership in. So now that he's off the board, Tiff, who is your next, let's say 3, your top 3 after that?
My next 3 are, no surprise to anyone, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and then I've got Todd Monken as my 3rd.
Okay. So, and we're going to go off to that. My top 3 after that, I have the same 2 at the top, 1 and 2, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. I might even have Aaron Glenn as a 1B, possibly. But I don't have Todd Monken in my top 3. I don't have him in my top 5. And I'm going to start right there. The cons for Todd Monken. Todd Monken, he's been a offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. This is his 2nd season in that position. He had one other previous stint as an offensive coordinator. It was with the Cleveland Browns a few years prior to that. In between that time, he was the offensive coordinator of the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Won a couple of, I think, championships down there with them as well, right? So, to me, that resume is a little varied. It's not thick enough. That's the number one con for him right now. He's never been a head coach in the National Football League. The Bears have hired one coach since Hallis that had prior head coaching experience. One. That's John Fox. With Todd Monken, his ability at coaching offense with Cleveland Brown was a little up and down. Now he's been proven to be the right guy for the job in Baltimore as he took over for Greg Roman. He's about to coach Lamar Jackson to a second consecutive MVP. But I think that offense, even though it's very prolific, is putting up points, it also has a once in a lifetime player at MVP, probably the best player in the league, top to bottom, right? The offense itself, it's a little collegey for my take. It's a lot of RPO action, a lot of high-low stuff with the tight end and one receiver set. It's not a real spread out offense. You got amazing players on the outside like Zay Flowers. You got a steady tight end in Mark Andrews, who might end up in the Hall of Fame one day. You play a lot of 13 personnel. I don't necessarily want that for the Chicago Bears. It works for the personnel of the Baltimore Ravens, but I don't know if that works for what the Bears have already in-house and what the Bears can do in free agency. I just don't see if that's a good fit. Tiff, but that's my con for Todd Monken. What is your pros for him?
Well, I'm going to start with my cons because they tailed off a lot of what you said. He does have head coaching experience at the college level. You missed out when he was head coach at Southern Miss. Unfortunately, they were 13-26 during that tenure, so that does not help that way as well. So I have that under the cons. A con along that vein is he has extensive experience, right? Why has he not gotten a head coaching job at the NFL level with all the experience that he's had? Is there a reason why? Is there a reason why teams have passed on him, or is just one of those things that it hasn't happened yet? And to your point about their offense, the Ravens have shined and they've definitely grown since he's been there. But there is that thought, how much is he helping Lamar in that offense play at an elite level, right? Or how much is Lamar's greatness, you know what I'm saying, making his abilities look even better? So that was definitely a con on my list. That's one of those things that you do not know until he gets somewhere else. But for my pros, and honestly, he was third and he was pretty far down on my list. I just needed a third, and none of the other candidates made me excited whatsoever. So this is not a huge endorsement for him, but he was the one that I finally came with as my third selection. But I mean, he's from the Chicagoland area. I think he's from Wheaton or somewhere. Yeah. I mean, it's a stretch on the land area, but somewhere outside the city.
Mokina.
Mokina? I don't know. He's from somewhere in the area. I forget which county. Certainly not Cook County, but anyway.
That's not Chicagoland then. If you from the Page County, you're not in Chicagoland.
We'll give him the land. We'll give him a little extensive. He's definitely from the MSA. So anyway, it don't even matter. It doesn't matter. But he does have extensive experience. He has helped the Ravens jump, from the 19th ranked offense to the 3rd ranked this year. So, how much can be attributed to him? We don't know that for a fact, but he is creative and he has modernized some offenses. And he has helped Lamar become a better passer and, have some record-breaking seasons. So can he do that with Caleb? Not saying that Caleb is a direct mold of Lamar in any way, shape, or form, but can he help Caleb? Can he help modernize our offense? And I get what you're saying. He doesn't run the flashy type offense that you want run. I get that. But at this point, I don't care if it's flashy or not. I don't care what kind of plays, if their plays are working and we're winning, I'm great with that. And Caleb looks good and confident. I'm great with that. If Caleb has an MVP season or MVP worthy season, I'm okay with whatever plays we're calling. We don't have to have offense where everybody's like, oh my God, no, baby. Is it working or not? Are we winning or no?
This is your number 3 prospect, Todd Monken. Just quickly before we go to obviously the Detroit Lions, their bulk of their coaching staff. What about Todd Monken puts him ahead of Mike McCarthy, Bobby Slowick, Brian Flores, anybody else?
I mean, Brian Flores, I think I've already spoken on this. Like, I didn't spend much time on him because just the way him and Tua, and it could have been those two specific players, but him and Tua had a real tumultuous relationship to the point that Tua is still scarred about it. You know what I'm saying? And we can't have nobody scarring Caleb. So whether it's his abrasive style, whatever it is about Brian Flores, him and Tua seems to be a very laid back, like they just didn't mesh well. And I couldn't take any chances with somebody that might scar a quarterback. So Brian wasn't even a consideration on my list.
He definitely can't come to Chicago and call Caleb garbage. He definitely cannot do that. You did it with Tua. You can't do it here.
Come on, that's what I'm saying. Like, I couldn't take the risk. Mike McCarthy, Green Bay coach, get out of here. No, got Dallas looking super mid every year. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Let me come back. Let me come back to Brian Flores real quick. Another one of the reasons why I don't want Brian Flores here, because he's a Poles guy. Him and Poles are buddy. We can't no more cronyism out of you, Poles. You got to hire somebody with merit, not because you no more nepo babies in Chicago, please.
I mean, he has somewhat of merit. Honestly, I ain't give him much consideration at all. I really didn't. He was not high up on my list. Like, it's been enough run-ins that he's had with people, and he may be a little bit more. We need discipline, but we don't need nobody that's going to have our QB shaking in the corner, okay? And still talking about him 3 years later at a press conference. We don't need that.
The most important run-in that Brian Flores has going on is he's still suing the league. Let's not forget that part too. So, it might be a little blackball situation going on with that as well. But be that as it may, the next guy you mentioned, Mike McCarthy. Yes, former Packer coach and as of right now, former Dallas Cowboys coach. But in any case, you called him mid, right? He's had 12-5 seasons back to back in Dallas. Is that a mid that you would not take in Chicago?
Okay, here's the thing, right? Because say the 1 year in Green Bay, it's pretty much the same formula. Okay, a decent to good regular season, and then get to the playoffs and pull the Pittsburgh Steelers. First game, you're out. So, I mean, yes, is that an upgrade to what we've been doing these last couple of years? Certainly. Is that what I want my team to be? Where it's like, yeah, they're going to be all right during the regular season, but guaranteed first game they play in the playoff, their asses is out. No, that's not what I want. No, and you can argue, what he did with Aaron or what he did with Zach and yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, the results ain't been there, especially for him to have, quote unquote, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and you only got it done one time. So, no, Mike McCarthy is the big no for me. If our goal is to solely, have a winning season and maybe get into the playoffs, great. If our goal is to actually make moves and put fear in hearts and compete in our division, it's an absolute no for me.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply. USAA.
Yeah, and I can't seem to wrap my head around Mike McCarthy being the groomer of a young offense, especially with a young quarterback. He had Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was pretty. He had already arrived by the time Mike McCarthy got in town, right? Dak Prescott, same thing. These are veteran quarterbacks who are already at the top, of their craft. That's not to say that Mike McCarthy can't hire a staff. I do understand. Mike McCarthy has been around long enough that I can say with some confidence that he can hire. He knows how to hire assistant coaches. That he's made enough friends along the way that he knows who to put in charge of, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, so on and so forth. So to that extent, and I already said earlier about the Bears not hiring guys with previous head coaching experience, that to me would put him, for me at least, my number 3 guy.
And another thing about Mike McCarthy, have we not been talking about culture this whole time? How we need a culture changer, I'm not feeling like Dallas players was really riding for Mike McCarthy. As a matter of fact, he had several dust-ups where it seemed like, is this player talking bad about him? Is this he just in no way, shape, or form is what he's looking for what I'm looking for our locker room. I just don't see him coming in and being a culture changer and the team just being like, that's our guy. We'll run through a wall for Mike McCarthy.
I like that you brought that up. You are totally correct because they did that too in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers used to throw him under the bus a lot.
Facts. Like, why are your players throwing you under the bus to them? Now, I'm not saying to their homie, but to the world. Mm-hmm. Nah, I can't see it.
And now, to be fair, Aaron Rodgers is a bit of a dick, right?
I mean, yeah. Who talked about him this time? Was it who he get into it with, or not get into it? But who was talking? It wasn't.
Who wasn't? Who
I'm talking about Dallas.
Oh,
the whole dust up where he was we winning for Mike. We winning. That was that. I
think it was Micah. It was Micah. It was Micah
Parsons. Okay, yeah. I mean, one of your stars, like.
Yeah, those are fair criticisms for Mike McCarthy. I'm not even going to, excuse it.
And his clock management. I'm sorry to keep cutting you off with more things about Mike McCarthy. He has some very questionable clock management things with Dallas and calls where it's like, are you a rookie on the sideline or are you a vet? And that's the last thing we need is somebody who can't even manage the damn clock during the game. We've been there, done
that. I don't ever want to see that again ever from a Bears coach. Never. And they've had Mike McCarthy's history, especially going back to Green Bay, and Dallas as well. Because what was it 2-3 years ago when they couldn't get the spike down with Dak and the Cowboys? Yeah, the clock history is a big concern as well. So that's another con for Mr. McCarthy. So
right. So I need to hear these pros because how is he number 3 on your list?
So my pros, I already said, 1, he's got coaching experience already. 2, he's been around the block enough that you can fairly assume that he can hire good coordinators to continue to flourish underneath what he's got going on. He at least understands how to be a supervisor instead of just having to do the work himself. Right? Our previous head coach, Eberflus, he knew how to do that. He knew how to hire the guys. He didn't know how to supervise. Right? So that's at least one step in a better direction for the Bears. Another thing, for all the cons that he has, his teams are yearly in the playoffs. The Bears have been in the playoffs. We haven't been in the playoffs since 2019, right? And that was an 8-8 season. I would like to just sniff the playoffs.
Let's enlarge our vision. Let's enlarge our vision. Let's put more than that on our vision board, shall we? Let's not be poverty. Let's enlarge our vision.
I am totally fine with that. But those are my pros for Mike McCarthy. All right, let's move to number 2. So, shall I start with this one? Number 2 for me is Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, we all know who he is. He was the number 1 candidate last season. He's the number 1 candidate this coaching cycle, even though Vrabel was off the board first. Ben Johnson, he's been the OC for the Detroit Lions, a high-flying Lions offense that turned Goff's career around, put Jahmyr Gibbs on the map. They have David Montgomery, and they have a 2-headed monster coming out of the backfield that looks both like they could be RB1s in anybody else's offense because that's how good they know how to spread the ball around, come out of the backfield. As it relates to passing the ball, Amon-Ra St. Brown, dog. They drafted him. He drafted him per se. Dog. Some of the other players, Sam Laporta, dog. Like he knows how to use, he can get everyone involved on that offense, right? Sam Laporta, he was a high-flying tight end his rookie year. He a little bit of regression the second season, but still leagues better than what we did with Cole Kmet. Still leagues better what we did with Cole Kmet. And for a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, just tough nose, catches the ball over the field, can high point the ball along the sideline, does everything, block the hell out of you. These are the type of guys they know how to identify in the draft. Because Amon-Ra St. Brown was drafted in the 4th or 5th round. I forget. While we're drafting guys in the 3rd round like Velus Jones, we're drafting guys in the 3rd round that are projects, right? And if they know how to identify all pros that late in the draft on day 3, that's the type of guy we do need to have in the building. That is my pro for Ben Johnson. The con here is that I'm just not sold on if he can do the culture thing. The culture thing is the most important thing for this team. It ain't developing Caleb. Developing Caleb is probably 1B, but the culture thing has got to be 1A. Because just because you got the quarterback, that doesn't mean your team's going to be good, right? Aaron Rodgers, prime example. He's still got a lot of juice in that tank, I think, but he is a cancer to that locker room. He's brought that culture down. We got to fix the culture because that culture in New York wasn't bad before Aaron Rodgers got there. But once the culture gets all distorted and thrown around, everything gets blown up. We got to bring somebody in that I think can rally the troops. Everybody believes in the message. Everybody believes in the guy that's talking in the middle of the huddle. Everybody will run through a wall for him. I don't know that Ben can do that. At least he hasn't sold me on that. But the guy on the further down the sideline, his compadre with the Detroit Lions, he sold me on that. That is my big con for Ben Johnson.
I had them really, really close. I think I've talked on previous episodes how I wasn't 100% sold on Ben Johnson, and I'm still not. The reason why I finally came with him at number 1 is, make no mistakes, we got to get our offense together. Period. Whether we want to say Caleb is the focus or shouldn't be, the point is our offense has been absolutely ridiculously atrocious, and that's got to be a priority. And so that's why I had to go with the offensive-minded guy versus the defensive-minded guy for my number 1. I'm sure you've seen that Caleb was on Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast talking about various things. And he said he wanted an offensive-minded coach, which of course makes 100% sense. Although he said he wanted somebody with a fire to him that matched his fire. I don't know that Ben has that fire. Like, he seems very stoic, I don't know. And like, to your point, so my pros, of course, would be what he has done with that offense. There is no mistake that he has that offense number 1 in scoring, number 1 in yards per game. I mean, there's no denying the innovative plays every single game. The way they utilize their players to the best of their ability, there's no denying that. So I think his pros are already, pretty obvious, and you covered them very well. But his cons, like you said, Dan Campbell is that culture. Dan Campbell is the reason that the Lions have the culture and the run through the wall. That, make no mistake. Can Ben Johnson be that? We don't know. And to your point, we'll talk about the other guy in a second, but we don't know, can Ben Johnson be that? Also, like I've said before, he is the it boy. He is the one everybody wants, and everybody is crowning as the next one. How much of that is getting to his head? Because he has not been a head coach yet, and even to the point that I made earlier, is he turned off by how many people were, interviewing? I mean, he's being hotly pursued. Make no mistake, he has his choice of where he wants to go. So that may be a downside too. And I think I mentioned before on a previous episode that, he likes his offense to run on schedule. He likes Goff to get that ball out on time. And how much of that, if he stays that way and he's more rigid in that, does that take away from some of Caleb's magic? Does that take away from some of Caleb's ability to extend the play and improvise? Of course, he could be able to tailor, the offense, especially to Caleb. Sure, we just don't know. And we've seen so many instances where offensive coordinators, whether it's Kansas City, whether it's Nagy, who we had that firsthand experience thinking, right? Nagy's got Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes looking like this. Let's bring him over here and he'll do the same thing. Didn't happen. whether it's, Buffalo and New York thinking, oh, he's what's his name? Brian Daboll's got, Josh Allen looking like a miracle and got that offense running. He's going to come over here and do the same thing. Didn't happen. There's plenty of times where we've seen offensive coordinators that look like absolute studs and stars until they were the head coach, and it didn't continue to manifest. Maybe they had some success that first year, like Daboll and like Nagy, but then it didn't continue to go. So is Ben Johnson in that same frame? We don't know. This will be his first time being a head coach. I mean, all my top three will be the first time head coaches. So that's going to be, a moot point for all of them. But, I'm not as sold as everybody else is about him. But, I mean, it's undeniable what he's done play calling and with their offense.
So what you're saying is him being the prize is going to go to his head.
Yeah, I've heard reports that he's kind of had a list of what, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying when you're interviewing somewhere, hey, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. But to be clear, he knows he's the prize, or at least thinks it. And, is he going to be a little bit of a diva with it? You never know. Our quarterback already has the reputation of not being a diva, but that was the label on him. Do we want to add a head coach who's a little bit of a diva who honestly hadn't done anything on his own?
I mean, Devo knows a Devo, right? I mean, they might be able to click on that.
Do they? Or do they? I don't know too many divas I don't know.
I'm not a Devo or diva or anything like that. So
First of all, I've never heard Devo, and don't say that anymore. Thank you.
Someone told me that before. So they said male diva is a Devo.
Well, tell them not to say that anymore either.
All right. You heard her. You heard her. Don't call me that no more. Please
do not say that anymore.
That drama king, anything like that. Don't say that about me ever again.
I've heard drama king, but Devo is this Spanish? What are we doing?
Yeah, it's the masculine of the form of diva.
No.
Okay. Maybe you do want a little bit of opposite attract attention or situation going on with Caleb in that quarterback room or that offensive play caller's room, right? We'll see. So you already said your number one was Ben Johnson. So that leads me to say my number one, Aaron Glenn. And he's your number two. I'm behind Ben Johnson. So I'm curious to hear, why are his cons more prevalent than Ben Johnson's?
They're not actually. I just said when I finally had to choose, I had to go with the offensive side of the ball. I just had to. So it wasn't that his cons are more or his pros are less. It was that if I had to choose what we need, offense or defense, I got to choose offense right now. Because even though our defense has had some, ups and downs, they're clearly the stronger side of the ball right now. So that was my main reason why I went with him as number two. I didn't have a ton of cons for him. One of them would be that I did see a report that the Jets are his number one pick, which
he played for the Jets.
Yeah, but leads me to think like your cognitive reasoning is, I get it. You played for them and you had great times there, but New York is in shambles right now. I don't know that I would feel like that was, even if they had who's going to be their quarterback? Like, they're in shambles. There's no way Jets would ever, no matter how much nostalgia I had, played for them, none of that. You're going to New York where they're going to fry you, okay? They're going to fry you for losing. You don't know what your quarterback situation is going to be. I don't know. So hearing that made me think like, wait a minute, that's your number one pick and you're letting it be known. You're not just telling your wife like, babe, I love to go to New York. You're kind of putting it out there. If that's true that he said it, that had me a little concerned about his reasoning abilities. But the other part of it is just, we've touched on this before. He is a defensive coach, right? So he's going to have to, and who knows, he said something like, if you hire me, you're not getting a defensive coach, you're getting a head coach. So, who knows if he would even end up calling the defense. Maybe he would bring in a defensive coordinator who actually called the defense. So who knows? But we know for a fact he's not going to call the offense, and he's going to need to bring in an offensive coordinator. And as we've stated, if you've got a star offensive coordinator, what's going to happen? they're going to get snatched. And then we're in the same cycle of having to start over with the new offensive coordinator, having to start over with new, schemes and learn new playbooks and things like that. So that was just my ultimate determination between them. Did I go defensive coach or did I go offensive coach? And my cons for him is that, we may lose. If he picks great offensive coordinators and has our team humming, then our offensive coordinator is gone and we've got to start over again. So that were my cons. My pros for him were a lot. Number one, he's a Black man. So that was a major up to me. He is a rising star and, he can bring a ton of innovation and energy. What the Lions did this year with the amount of injuries and the star player injuries on the defensive side of the ball was remarkable. If you watch them in any way, shape, or form, you know how many people they had go down this year. And it was like next man up, next man up, next man up. So that tells me he has those boys motivated. He has those boys believing that whether you're the first, second, third string, when you get in that game, you have everything that you need to play and play well. You can tell that his defensive side of the ball, they love him. He's always animated and excited on the sidelines. And like I said, for them to only allow 20 points per game and have the league's third best defense, they have the best third down defense, which is something we have been atrocious at, is third down defense. So for him to have them playing that well, again, taking into account the amount of injuries to stars on their defensive side of the ball that they experienced this year is really remarkable. So obviously he coaches those boys up. Obviously he has them believing and achieving. And that's what we need, because we do need help on the defensive side as well. And most importantly, we need a leader of men, and we need someone who can install a culture and have our team playing lights out. I'm sure he's, gleaned some of that from Dan. So I think just that side of it had him really, really close for me. But again, the only reason he was my 2 is just knowing how much work our offense needs.
You made the argument for me. He's a leader. He's a leader. You see it emanating. Like, I'm not one of these guys that believe in like you can learn how to be a leader, or leaders are born and not created, stuff like that. People just have it. You know what I'm saying? They just have that, that type of moxie about themselves, and it emanates coming off him. You watch him on
the can, there are certainly natural born leaders, but I think you can. It's a skill you can hone. I mean, I think it's like charisma or anything else. If you have it, then of course you're usually exponentially bumped up. And I think he does have an aura and a charisma about him that makes it exponential. But I think you can become.
Maybe you can acquire it, but we've seen the turnstile for the Chicago Bears head coaches. They don't know where to acquire it from. They don't know where to buy it. This guy's got it in spades. That's why he's hogging all the leadership. He's hogging all the charisma, all the moxie, all the riz, as the kids say.
He definitely has je ne sais quoi. Yeah, he got some riz.
Right. Yeah, I still don't know what that word is.
Well, it's aura now. Riz is short for charisma.
Oh,
riz is old slang though. They don't say riz anymore. It's aura now.
I just learned what it was, and it's already outdated.
It's been outdated, yeah. But yeah, Riz, short for charisma. Now, don't tell the kids that. They don't know it's short for charisma, but that's what it's short for.
I think Riz was the word of the year from Webster's Dictionary. How's it already
like outdated? A couple years ago, probably. Them kids ain't been saying Riz in forever.
Are you sure? I think that was the word of the year last year. No, it was Demure.
2024.
Demure was the word of the year. Maybe, I don't know.
No, brain rot was the word of the year.
I'm getting old. I gotta start.
Don't run around talking about you got Riz. They'll be looking at you like, okay, Unc.
Yeah, they're like, are you an undercover cop? Get out of my
face. Unc. Okay.
Well, whatever it is, Mr. Aaron Glenn has it, right?
Aura points.
He's got all of those things that you said in spades. The culture of Chicago Bears is the number one thing that needs to change this offseason. We have to have somebody in here that keeps guys accountable, makes guys believe in what he's got going on, and everything you see just watching. I could put the game on mute. The Detroit Lions game. I could put the Detroit Lions game on mute and just watch the sideline. And I'm like, that guy, he knows what he's doing. That guy's got it going on. Like, and I didn't believe this the first 2 years ago when he first got into the position under Dan Campbell. And sidebar, shout out to Dan Campbell. He's done an amazing job of hiring assistants. Deuce McAllister, Mark Brunell, Antoine Randall, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, all these guys just been killing it, right? And you're
gonna have to do it again because he about to lose 2 of them, at least 2.
I'm sure he can. I'm sure he knows what he's got going on over there. But speaking about Aaron Glenn, one thing they do well in Detroit, coming from the coordinators, the general manager, the president of football ops, and Dan Campbell, they know how to identify certain guys in the draft that this is a guy that fits our program. Now, I don't know what type of insight. I don't have the type of insight to understand that how much sway Aaron Glenn had on these decision makings, but Jack Campbell, Terrion Arnold, Hutch, to name a few, these guys were home runs. Again, just like I said with Ben Johnson, we need guys in the room that can, 1, tell Ryan Poles to cut the crap, 2, identify automatic future starters in the draft. We need them in spades, all up along the trenches, right? We got to build those trenches up.
And even to your point, sorry to cut you off, but you made a great point. Terrion Arnold, who came from Alabama, initially I was watching him closely because I know him, but initially in the start of the season, he was getting PI after PI after PI. I don't think he's had one since. So, I don't know that was Aaron Glenn, but he had to have some kind of hand in helping him and stopping and cutting out those penalties almost immediately. And if it's one thing that we need on our team, again, it's somebody that can get discipline on our team and cut down those penalties. So that's just a great point. Not only are they identifying the talent, they're quickly helping them adjust to the league and cut out those mistakes that they have in their game. And we need all of it.
Coaching them up. Again, one of the key problems with the Bears this year is mistake-filled football. If Aaron Glenn can, that's just one example, help the young kid cut out the flags. That helps you mature in the league faster, helps you get to where you want to be in your maturation, and it helps the side of the ball that you play on. That's the type of stuff that head coaches do. They're not necessarily your position group or your coordinator. The head coach is the one that does the specialized stuff, right? And not just somebody that does the rah-rah stuff. You got to know how to have people follow you. Again, leadership. Aaron Glenn, it just emanates off of him that he's got these guys. And I don't think Detroit Lions had the best talent in the league on that side of the ball. And you spoke to it. They had a bunch of injuries. They had 12 guys on IR on the defensive side of the ball anyway. And they still was knocking folks out, still swarming to the ball. Everybody playing for their guy next to him. Everybody, no one's missing assignments play after play after play. None of this BS that you saw with the Bears, right? The Bears we got all pro level type of talent on the side of the ball, but just inexcusable nonsense held us back. This is the type of stuff. Even if our offense is going to still be a work in progress, we at least need one side of the ball to take a leap to be where they need to be. Show up and play up to your level, right? And if anything's going to happen, at least I think we agree on this. The defense is further ahead of the offense. If we can get the defense back to being an elite level, possibly best defense in the league, if they just cut out the nonsense, the offense will be not too far away, because all you got to do is basically cut out all of the mistakes. And we had error-filled football on both sides of the ball, even on special teams. So all 3 points of the game. If we can have somebody that keeps everybody in line, holds everybody accountable, and makes you want to come to work and play for the next man, we're already on our way, because we already got most of the talent on at least on one side of the ball.
I I just pray whoever we want, hopefully Aaron. I hope that Jet stuff is a lie. And I hope who we want wants us. That's all I hope. Because I mean, I think we do have a very appealing job because of Caleb and because of some of the talent that we have. But I think, the mess that the Bears have been can be a little bit of a downside too. So I just hope that who we want we can get, so we don't have to go with our fourth, fifth option, which
I don't care if who we want wants us. Pay them. Be like a trick.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, they come. I don't care if we're on their wish list or not. Let me clear that up. I hope who we want comes. Say it like that. Right. Doesn't choose another job.
Act like an Atlanta man and pay the person to come with you.
Hey, pay what you weigh. Listen, whatever got to get them in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Miss McCaskey, break it off.
I'm not even calling Miss. I'm on first name basis with her. Virginia.
Okay, Virginia, break it off. Okay, right. Break it off.
George, you too.
George,
Kevin,
whoever, all of you.
And
it would be so nice to have a trifecta,
Ryan.
Though, black all the way down. I would love that.
We had that. We had that already, and
when
we just did.
No, heck. Yeah. Oh, well, you count Thomas. I mean, no, that's
Kevin,
not. It counts, but it don't really count, bro.
It counts. Kevin, Ryan,
it counts,
Thomas,
but it don't really count.
Chris, and what was it? Eric Washington. 5.
It counts, but it don't really count. He was in the room.
He got the raises. He got the head coach raise. Shout out to him.
Shout out to Thomas. I hope you get another really great opportunity. You was thrown into the absolute fire.
Yeah. Don't take no more pressing game coordinators. You got to level up. We leveling up in
coordinator, and don't let them force you into being head coach.
We leveling up in 2025. Thomas Brown, I wish you added success. And I wish the same thing for the Bears. We leveling up. No more 10+ lost seasons for the Bears. We're gonna turn that boat around, and we're going back to the playoffs in 2025. Bear down.
The Bears.
Stop playing that, and maybe we'll make some good decisions.
That ain't got nothing to do with me.
You played that all last offseason, and look what happened.
It ain't gonna do with me.
And I see you all haven't thrown up that bear claw since.
No, we're not doing the claws right now.
Exactly. That's what I tried to tell you.
We're not doing claws right now. They gotta.
No, we're not doing them ever.
They gotta figure it out.
No, we're not doing them ever. Those are banned.
Oh, what if they start the season 11-0?
It ain't gonna be because of the bear claw. I promise you that.
Well, then it ain't the reason why they lost either.
Nah. That's never coming back. That's dead.
Tiff.
The Bears.
Yeah. Okay.
Get it together.
Get some wins, and we'll see.
Thanks for listening to this latest edition from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel. Whether you listen to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a drop. And all my homies from Chicago, we say 3 things: bear down, go Cubs go, and sell the team, Jerry.